Welcome to the Mental Health Minute podcast. My name is Chris Salyards, and I'm the Executive Director for the Bridge Youth and Family Services. We provide mental health and family stabilization services to youth and families in our community. Through our podcast, we will talk to partners and experts, learn from Bridge staff, and talk with individuals who've received support through our services and who've become stronger as a result. Normalizing the conversation around mental health creates healthier individuals, families, and communities. Looking forward to sharing with you. Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Health Minute. My name is Chris Salyards, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bridge Youth and Family Services. Today, I have a guest, Mike Kolander, who is the founder of Breathletics, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. So, Mike, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. My name is Mike Kolander. I've been in the fitness industry for about 30 years now, getting into it. Started out as a personal trainer, got into my own business, and then kind of ventured off at Northwest Community Hospital in the cardiac rehab patient facility in the wellness center. And I work with people directly with their breathing. That kind of opened the door to getting into Wim Hof and some other things, and then realizing that, you know, there's things that you can do with your breath that are really natural and very uncommon. So I started getting into different types of breath work and realized that the type of breath work Breathletics teaches kind of is born from a little amalgamation of a bunch of different kinds, but the base of it is it helps you with anxiety, depression, PTSD. It's like a chill pill. It's like an organic chill pill.
I like it. Yeah. And tell me about how you've used Breathletics since the cardiac wing.
Well, what we've done is we've turned it into, it's almost like yoga and breath work together. So it's not any movement though. However, you're on your back and you've got a towel over your eyes, so there's no senses. And what's going to happen is you're breathing in and out through your mouth nice and quick, and you're releasing it through your mouth, but you're putting your breath to the beat. The reason why you're doing that is to get you into the meditative state or the now state. Now, this isn't woo-woo. Like I said, this isn't like sprinkling fairy dust on yourself and going in the forest reserve and hanging out with trees and kissing rocks. This is a proven way to activate your antidepressors in your body naturally. Now, it's a nice scientific way of saying that, but it's a way of lowering your frontal lobe and getting your subconscious to come out. And it's been proven that trauma is stored in your DNA. So this is actually a way to expunge some of that. So like I said before, if you think your parents screwed you up, you were right. But their parents and their parents. So this way, this actually gets rid of some of that DNA that's gunked up. So it can change the genealogy as well as improve anxiety, depression, on whatever it is. I've worked with a lot of different people, and it's gotten a lot of positive results.
Okay. And did you create this model?
It's kind of a mix. It's like an amalgamation of holotropic breath work that came up in the 60s and early 70s. This guy, Stanislav Grof, started it, and it's an hour and a half of hyperventilation, and that's some crazy stuff. You actually hallucinate. I remember doing that, and it was like Harry Potter. The pictures on my wall were talking to me. So it's a little bit of that, but it's like its little brother. It's only a half an hour, and it's not hyperventilation. It's controlled exhale. You inhale sharp twice, and you exhale nice and slow, or just let it fall out of your body. You don't push it out. So when you do that, only for 30 minutes, it changes your blood chemistry. What that means is your carbon dioxide goes down, your oxygen goes down. And that's what sets up your subconscious to come popping out a little bit.
Okay. So last week, my guest was telling me about, well, we were talking about post-COVID and how people changed after COVID. And a lot of times what he tells people is, you know, you have to take care of yourself. And he recommends meditation. And I poked the bear a little bit and I said, you know, some of our parents, single parents, multiple kids, 2 jobs. So telling them to meditate can be awfully challenging because if you're just trying to survive, you're not thinking about how you can refocus yourself.
Right.
But he was giving ideas about a 5 or a 10-minute sabbatical in your car before you walk in the house, before you go in the job. Is this something that they could use?
Without a doubt. There's different ways to do it. There's a lot of little life hacks you can use during the day in a safe way that can change your mood via your chemicals in your blood by using breath work. There's a thing called box breathing. The Navy SEALs do it. And what that is, you do it on either a 3 count, if you're just starting out, or a 4 count. Now, if you would think of a box, okay, you inhale for 4 counts. So you're going up 1, inhale. All right, hold it for 4, 2, 3, 4, then exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. You just got a box right there. By doing that, 2 things happen. You're slowing down your breath to only 5 breaths a minute, less than, if you're keeping it at 4 and you're not cheating. What that does, that activates your vagus nerve. That's your chill switch that goes all over your body. Your vagus is Latin, which means to water. I just want to catch up on your Latin. And when that's activated, that lowers your blood pressure, it lowers your heart rate. And when you hold your breath, you increase the carbon dioxide in your blood. Okay, what happens then is your carbon dioxide acts as a vasodilator. It opens up your blood vessels, makes it easier for the blood to flow, which decreases your blood pressure and heart rate, but it also increases your focus because it allows more blood to go to your brain. One of the most famous inventors, I forget what his name is, famous inventor. It's an Asian name, and it's all kinds of different stuff, but he's got the most patents ever. And what he used to do is jump in the bottomless pool and hold his breath for as long as he could, 10 times. And he would always say that would give him these ideas, and he would invent things on the bottom of the pool when he was doing this. I don't know if I would go that far, but when you do hold your breath, you do send more blood to your brain. So that answers it, I think.
I think it does, yeah.
Right?
And so it's a real easy technique.
Absolutely.
And I've taken your Breathletics. I actually brought all the staff to your Breathletics class.
That was great.
It was great. And I think what I learned from that one class was that I didn't know how to breathe.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to breathe, not just calm down breathe,
Sure.
but I didn't know how to breathe generally speaking.
Sure.
Because I think what I learned is that we typically breathe from the upper half.
Absolutely.
And we need to start breathing deeper. So I'm going to let you talk about all of that.
That's a great point. So there's congruent breathing and incongruent breathing. So babies, until you're about 5 years old, they breathe perfectly. It's all diaphragmatical. It's all stomach breathing. And then social stuff happens. Then school happens. Then you grow up and there's boys and girls that happen and things like that where you're playing sports. When you breathe through your upper chest and shoulders, you're not breathing with the right muscles. Those aren't breathing muscles, So when you're incorporating that, you're up breathing through your upper chest. That means you're living in the sympathetic nervous system. That's your stress state. That's fight or flight. That means your blood pressure's up, your heart rate's up, your focus is down, and you're kind of you're increasing your anxiety a little bit. Okay, so and usually that follows with mouth breathing. You should never, ever breathe through your mouth. Nose breathing at all times, as much as you possibly can. When you breathe in through your nose and you use your diaphragm, when you're breathing through your belly and not your upper chest, all right, you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, that is your chill switch. That's low heart rate, low blood pressure, high focus. That's why the Navy SEALs do it. I mean, if there's a better test group in the world, I want to know, because if they do it, it means it works. So the right way to breathe is nasally and diaphragmatically, because that means you're keeping your stress level down. And, when I say stress level, cortisol, that goes through your body. That affects everything, not just your mood, your bones, your digestion, your sleep, your physical attributes, strength. I mean, it saps a little bit of that away when you're breathing into your mouth and you use your shoulders. When they say take a big breath, and when you see people doing that, you're doing the wrong thing. Back in the day, they say, put your hands on your head and take a deep breath. All right, you're taking your diaphragm out of its natural movement, and you're putting the placement on the shoulders to breathe. You're putting yourself in a stress state, and you're not getting as much oxygen to your blood as you could be if you were breathing the right way. So actually, you're costing yourself energy by doing that, and you're making it harder to recover by doing that. So that's actually backwards. They say whenever your hands are on your knees, that's bad. That's the perfect way to do it, because what that does, that takes your shoulders out of the equation. You have to breathe through your diaphragm. So if you're breathing heavy, If you put your hands on your knees, you can't breathe through your shoulders. That absolutely works because it activates the diaphragm, which means it's getting all the oxygen to the blood by the breath instead of robbing it by breathing through your mouth and use your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So at the Bridge, we provide mental health services, and it's, of course, a lot of talk and play therapy. And what you're suggesting is that by including the physical, you may get better results. So can you give me some examples or an example of a time that you used this with somebody who had PTSD, anxiety, depression, and what that process was like for both of you?
Sure. So one of the ladies I've been treating to the class, she's come to class, I think, about 13 times. And she is so stressed out at work that she would be so stressed out her shoulders. You know, that's where you carry your stresses, you don't realize, and that's where you get stress headaches. And she was getting migraines and all these things because she was carrying her work around with her. Big job, big money, you know, and that comes with big stress, I guess. So they tell me. But so when she started coming to class, first class, you know, she really didn't know what to expect. She was kind of holding back as you do. I mean, your brain's your shield, so it kind of chills you out and tells you to be careful. But the second time she came, she really let loose and she pushed it, and she couldn't believe the results she had. And she remembers driving home that night thinking that she didn't care about all the stuff that was bad that day. You know, she was all stressed out. She went home, she got to feel great. You know, I always tell people after class, don't make any financial decisions or texting the exes because you're living in awesome land. So it's like weightlifting or taking vitamins or eating good. You can't just do it once and expect it to work. I mean, it works a little bit, of course. It'll take you through a day or get you through a problem. But if it's a deeper seated, long lasting type of depression or anxiety, like a job or somebody who was overseas or a policeman who's seen some things or a grade school teacher, I'm told, right?
Yeah.
Right? They probably need it more. What happens is, it slowly chisels away at all of that anxiety. And after they say, I think 5 times of doing this class, if you can do this twice a week, or at least try and meditate for 5 to 10 minutes a day, the accumulation of that it's almost like taking a little bit of crap out of your bowl every time. One time, it won't weigh that much. 5 times, not a little bit, but you do it for a while, all of a sudden, hey, your mood is different. Mm-hmm. And she was telling me that after the month and a half or so, I think it was the 7th week, she said that her shoulders felt great. She wasn't carrying stress around as much. And her headaches had minimalized to the point of almost not being there. So that was the physical attribute of just the breath work. Because, you know, there's so many ways to deal with stress. I mean, some are unhealthy, you know, I mean, self-medication. But this is almost like an organic drug. You know, I'm like an organic drug dealer now, you know. So it works, but it works the way the body was intended to work, you know. And I think there's so many things that the body can do that we don't know about, that we're just scratching the surface. Like that movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson, my future ex-wife. She well, you know, how she would use 95% of her mind and she could do all this stuff. I'm not saying we're going to start teleporting through walls, but, you know, there's things and there's healing mechanisms that we have that are built in that we don't use. And this is proven to work as a tool against all those things, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and it has physical attributes as well. Just like the woman I'm talking about, her shoulders, she was done with the pain. She was actually lifting more weight because she wasn't out of balance quite so much and carrying her stress, and her headaches were gone, like I said. So it really is a way to help a lot of things, just not a half hour of your time, or even if you do it 5 minutes at your desk. You know, it's the accumulation, just like working out. You're not gonna do it once. You got to keep doing it. So it should be like a part of your routine at some point of the day. You know, that's what I say.
So I had a question, and it was a good question. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Right. So I promise.
Nice recovery. Nice recovery.
So we've seen unprecedented levels of depression and anxiety in kids, in families.
It's crazy.
And
it's on Facebook. How can you not get depressed? All these people, yelling at people, all these keyboard warriors.
Well, and I guess that's what I was going to ask is what you see all types of people from all walks of life in various settings that you work in. So what do you think? What's your armchair assessment? What do you think is leading to all of this anxiety and depression and stress?
I got to tell you, it's social media. You know, it's like cocaine. It's been proven that an hour of that is like the effect on your brain. When you see a like or somebody comments about your picture, it fires the same part of your brain up as cocaine does. And it's sad because, we were talking with these guys over here. We're in a different world where we grew up without phones. I just remember going out for 8-9 hours and, I'll meet you here 9 hours, you'll be there, and you didn't worry about it, and you're about the present moment, and it's fine. You want to take pictures. I get all that. But, video and this and video that you go to concerts. I mean, it's just, you're looking through a little phone and you're in front of the band. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, like I said, you want to take pictures, that's fine. But the social media aspect, if you're going on there for likes, I mean, so many people post pictures of their family bragging about this. Everybody seems that it's all white picket fence, 1.5 kids and a dog and happiness in America. But, it's kind of sad because I think that's a cover up for, their problems. And everybody's got problems. But it's just that people see all these other people doing so much better than them, so to speak, on Facebook. And, you're getting shamed on Facebook and all these people. There's so many avenues to read negative things. Mm-hmm. And those always stick a lot harder and a lot longer than the positive things. That's just part of it, So it's upsetting, but I think that I'd say it's getting worse before it's going to get better because, we're getting more into the digital age and it's going to be AI now and all this other kind of stuff. So I just hope that the parents now with some of the kids who were born in this age where there's a lot of phones, tablets and all that kind of stuff, they make sure they're still going out playing and getting some stuff where they can see, feel, and touch and not just sit there and look at a screen because that's not doing anything to their brains. That's not doing anything to their health, their life, their bones. I mean, come on, get out and play a little bit.
Yeah, I like to take my kids camping because feet in the dirt is proven, like bare feet in the dirt is proven to improve your mental health. And just being out in nature, I think shrouding the white noise, which is all of that stuff. And I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and I brought it up in my first podcast. There's this app called Barstool, and 3 high school kids run it. And I think all the high schools have it now. And it's just a place for the school to post news for students. And also they post funny pics. Well, one of her friends, somebody sent in a really not flattering picture of her friend. And the girl lost an entire day of education because she spiraled about this one picture. Yeah. And my daughter, she is my kid, and she's like, by tomorrow, everybody's going to forget about your picture because they'll be on to the next picture. Yeah. She's like, so you just have to let it go. And it's easy to say, especially for Gen Xers, because we were like, I mean, I found some photos in a drawer that was stuck in a box under a cabinet. And I'm like, this is why I'm glad there were no phones when I was growing up, because this would have been everywhere. My future employers would have seen it and been like, I'm not so sure about this one.
Oh God, there's no question about that.
Yeah. So I think you're right. It's social media, but I think it's more than just that. It feels like there's a lot of pressure, and maybe it's perceived pressure to be better, bigger, different, whatever it is.
Sure.
Because it seems like people are just in this race to get ahead. And my husband and I lived in the UK for 2 years. And when we lived there, it was such a culture shift for us because you work to live, you don't live to work.
Yeah, big difference.
A huge difference, and we traveled more. I shouldn't say this out loud. It felt like we traveled a lot more than we worked because you could get anywhere in Europe for a couple pounds. And I think that pace was really healthy. And then you come back and they actually tax you on a bigger car. They leverage the bigger and the better because they want people to live modest. Yep. It's in their best interest. It's a small island. So I'm on a tangent. I fell into a rabbit hole.
I think Italy has a thing where if I'm correct, when a woman gives birth, they don't want them to work for 6 months. Like they won't let them come back. Mm-hmm. And there's a minimum of a month where they go away from work. And there's a lot more, family and less corporate, punch the clock time. And I think that's healthy. I think it's incredibly healthy. So,
yeah, one of my best friends is a Swede, and she took the first year off, and then her husband got the second year off.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
And
let's move to Sweden.
Yeah, right. For real. But for us, when we see the number of kids we have around us with these, of course, we are a mental health agency, so that's what we get.
Sure.
And so it just feels like everybody has these problems.
Yeah.
But it just seems big. It just seems so big. And I think parents sometimes feel lost.
Competition is crazy, even at that level, all the travel teams and the competitions and, people's kids, they brag about them. And one kid's going to this one, my kid's going over here. And then, wow, Mike, it's just, they're trying to keep up with the Joneses too much. I think it's getting ramped up where, I don't know where it's going to stop, but it's really to a point now where, you hear parents yelling at other parents in the stands at games. Things like that. It's crazy. Ryan Sandberg was just telling a story online on the sports radio. He was in the stands, and this one of the dads is tipping off pitches and yelling what's coming. And Ryan Sandberg said, hey, I know you're trying to do the right thing here, but that's really not right. The guy yelled at Ryan Sandberg, oh, you old has-been, I got more hair than you, and all this disrespect. It's like, a lot of these people are growing up and they don't know what manners are or, self-policing your attitude to not be such a, it's so it seems like everything's ramped up and there's so much competition and, they got to reach that golden ring. But, on the way there, it's stepping on other people. And I don't think that's right. A lot of these people do. And that's where I think the travel teams and all that money that goes into that. And if you don't play in a travel team now as a kid, you're not going to get scouted. You're not going to get looked on. You're not going to play in college, and it's kind of sad in that way. A lot of sports are really getting like that. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people can't afford that stuff. And a lot of money.
That's exactly right. And I was talking to a guy that I know who started a volleyball club, and he said, if you want to be scouted, you have to play in a club.
Without question.
And when we were kids, that was so long ago. So when we say when we were kids, it's like, oh gosh, how many decades? Right. How many decades was that? But
we didn't travel.
We didn't play travel.
God, there wasn't even travel. I remember taking a bus in 8th grade across state lines to play a team in Illinois for football. I thought I was a king. It was unbelievable. Like, we're going across the state lines to play football. My God, this is awesome. I'm starting to sign autographs and paparazzi. Yeah, it was awesome. And now, they go to Florida 4 times a year. And they're going over here and they're going to Brazil. It's insane. The money, it's breaking up families, and when you add that on top of the pressure of being a kid anyways, it wasn't easy at any age. When you're getting there from getting into adulthood and dealing with all that life throws at you, then you add in social media and you add these travel teams and you add all the competition. It's just getting ramped up. And I think we need a lot of help to make sure it doesn't go overboard, because it's kind of heading that way. It seems like, God, gloom and doom, though. That's not right. Be happy.
Well, negativity spurs negativity, and it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning and I read a couple of news channels, which I try to get my news from like a global market news, right? And I try to get something that's the 1440, which claims that it is no slant. It's just sort of, here are the facts of what happened in the last 24 hours. And then I read Nice News. And Nice News is just really good news around the U.S., whether it's some mom and pop shop who baked a giant pancake for this kid who's whatever, right? Or it could be a nonprofit that's doing good things for the community. And I think we have to find those opportunities, because if you think about it, people aren't necessarily engaged or interested in the good stuff. We want the dirt. We want the tea.
Of course,
we want the gossip. We want the drama,
because magazine,
right? And that's why reality TV is so incredibly popular.
I love it. With an editor, reality TV with an editor. Just don't point that out.
Just when you thought it was not negative enough, then we're going to make sure we add.
You mean one guy gets to date 25 chicks and that's not real? Man, that's not right.
Yeah. So pulling it back to you though, in your breathletics work, what is something that you've seen or observed? I know you've got the story of the woman who has shed herself of some stress, which is fantastic.
That's
I mean,
great.
as a working mom, I can totally relate to her.
Without question.
So can you think of something that just really shifted you personally into this work, or that you are like, wow, this is getting tagged on my Hall of Fame?
Yeah. When I started getting this myself, it was therapy for myself. I was going through, there's everybody go through some stuff, but I had a year, but 10 years ago, 11 years ago, where, a lot of things went sideways and bad, and it's life. I lost my mom, lost my dad, my house burned down all within like 6 months. And, you can take that two ways. You can have it weigh you down or have it lift you up. And I try to have it lift me up, but there was a lot of times where it didn't. And during those times, I really had to look for something to help me, deal with it in a healthy way. And I started doing some Wim Hof breath work, and then I got into this kind of breath work, and I started taking these classes, and it was starting to work, and I'm, feeling a little better, and it's helping me get through some things, and I'm like, well, this stuff really kind of works. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and nobody's really doing this. This one gentleman was doing it out in California, and I started taking his classes and learning about it like that. But I think we were talking about this before, that the guy he just wouldn't be quiet in the class, man. He wouldn't stop talking. So I just did it myself, where I put some headphones on and I put some music on with a solid beat. And I'm like, I'm just going to let myself go for about a half hour. And that's the way I came up with the Breathletics mode, where it's put to music. I'm not going to be talking to you during this. I'm not going to be yapping, telling you to, grab your bad stuff, put it on your heart and cry to sleep. This is, the breathing and the music. You're in the now because you can't have any room for the other static. And that's what I needed, is to get all that crap out of there and kind of help me float through the bad times, So it helped. And then I'm thinking, this could really work. And it started to become sort of talked about 3-4 years ago. And then at Inspire, when I started working there, I started getting the Breathletics class there. And that's where it really started to take shape. And now, since we've been at breweries and we do events and we sell them out, and it's always a positive response at the end. People always think, wow, this is got to be like doing drugs is like, or I can't believe it how great this is, because it's an unknown thing. And that goes all the way back to why I started it, is kind of to get around or get rid of some of the crap that you accumulate in life, and everybody's got that. So that's the way it kind of helped me. And I think, it works. And I'm kind of a big believer in doing things that work, not might work or could work. This does work. So that's why I wanted to take it up and maybe make this a little bit more of a career instead of just something that I did. And it's grown so much to the point of it being a career, because we're working with corporations. Like I said, we work with Marines, athletes with their breath work. That's another aspect of it that's a little different than this kind of classwork, but that's becoming a thing. Breath work is going to be like yoga, I think, in a few years, because it's all the studies around that's showing what it can really do. And that's sort of where it started with me, where I was trying to help myself, and it worked. So it did well.
Yeah. So when I took it, my fingertips and my toes got numb. So talk about what's going on.
So the actual thing that's happening is, when you're low on carbon dioxide, your body and your blood, you're getting used to it, and sometimes you cramp up. It's called tetany, where it's like you're flashing gang signs. You shake it off, you get rid of it. It becomes less impactful the more you do it. So the first time you do it, your body's freaking out. It's on low carbon dioxide, low oxygen. You're going to get cold, you're going to get tingles, and you might get some tetany. That's the physical aspect of it that you will feel. I mean, almost everybody gets cold. I don't know if there's been anybody who hasn't gotten colder than they were when they walked in. One lady comes to class, she's got her whole bed set with her. I mean, she has a comforter, a pillow, a thing. She even has an eye mask. It's like, that's what you got to do. But yeah, people get cold, and that's because of low carbon dioxide and low oxygen. So there is a physical attribute of the class that that will come up depending on how much you get into it or how much you've done it. So
okay. And then you feel really dazed, I think is the word that I would use, sort of dazed afterwards. You're kind of in a fog, but it's not a bad fog.
It's a happy fog.
It's just kind of
happy fog.
It's kind of like, oh, I don't really care what happens next.
That's it.
So after we did our thing at the gym with you, we all went next door and filled up on honey jam pancakes.
Nice.
And I think that was probably the happiest I've seen my staff as a collective.
It works. That's why, like I said, I always say, don't call any ex, don't reach out to anybody, and don't make any financial decisions because you're living in La La Land where nothing matters.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. People would say they float. That's why I stopped class with about 15 minutes to go, because I don't want people buzz driving home. You know, I mean, you really are a little affected. And I've had people have to stay a little bit longer sometimes when they really get into it. You know, it might take 15, 20 minutes to come back all the way down to the point you feel okay to get out of there and drive a car.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Never drive a car, never do this in any kind of water, no bathtub, no jacuzzi, no driving.
Okay. And so when we talk about back to parents and meditating, meditation can be really challenging for people, especially for people who can't turn their brains off. It's such a hard thing. And then maybe some people like myself who are like, I could have used this 10 minutes for something else.
Right. Yeah. See,
I could have been doing X, Y, or Z. So talk to the workaholics. Talk to the workaholics or the parents who just don't have the time.
You know, you can take 5 minutes and do box breathing when you're not driving. And it's not like you have to go to the breathing gym to do this. I mean, you just sit down on your couch, lay on your back in your bed. They even have some YouTube. You can actually have Wim Hof, and you can pull up Wim Hof, and he'll take you through it, and you can follow the breathing and have your eyes closed. You can hear it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. That investment of that time is so well worth it because it's going to affect the next 4 or 5 hours of your life, And if somebody said, hey, I'm going to give you something, you got to do it for 5 minutes. It's not going to be hard to do. You do it all the time anyways. And it's going to help make the next 4 or 5 hours nice and chill. Why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
That's exactly what this is. So if you do box breathing or just do some slow breathing, lower your breath per minute so that activates that vagus nerve, that's your chill switch. That's like taking I won't say Xanax because that's not that, but like a chill pill. So
yeah. So I have a friend who, when I used to have a much bigger, different job, not bigger necessarily, but different, that had so much stress. Like I wasn't sleeping. I would be up at 3 a.m. cleaning floors because I needed somewhere to put my energy. And he said to me, he's like, you need to do Assassin's breathing. It's like, this is the breathing they teach assassins. You breathe in for 7, hold for 8, exhale for 9.
There you go.
He's like, if you do that, your heart rate is going to drop considerably by the second time.
Sure.
And if I ever have a night where I can't go to sleep, I never make it past 3 cycles.
Yep.
It's so bizarre and such an easy technique.
Yep.
But we don't think about that.
No. That's counting sheep, right? No, there's one that's gains popularity. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. Same kind of thing. You inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. So 2 things that are happening there. First of all, if you think about it, that's 1 breath in 19 seconds. 4-7-8. That's a little over 3 breaths in a minute. Well, we usually breathe over 12 times a minute, 13 times a minute, and sometimes more. If you get it that low, that just means there's more carbon dioxide in your blood, which means heart rate's lower because it's a dilator. You have extra carbon dioxide in your blood, opens the blood vessels. You have 100,000 miles of blood vessels in your body, opens all of them up a little bit, lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate, and the carbon dioxide allows more blood to your brain, increases your focus. So I always go off on a tangent.
Me too.
Where was I going?
We're going to be here for Tuesday.
Know, right?
We were talking about the 3 breaths and I pass out.
There you go. So when you're breathing that low, all the carbon dioxide is going to your blood. Now, when you exhale longer than you inhale, and this is something for runners, something for anybody, your inhale activates that sympathetic nervous system, right? That's your fight or flight. Your exhale kind of leans towards the parasympathetic. So it makes sense, golfers, pitchers, we work with pitchers, You inhale slow, but you exhale slower. So that 4 inhale and the 8 exhale, never mind the hold, you're doubling your exhale, which means you have twice the amount of parasympathetic chill switch in each breath, which means your body leans to that. Instead of breathing in slow and exhaling fast, or breathing fast both ways, you're not getting that effect. So it really kind of, it works.
Mm-hmm. So what about kids? Have you done this work with kids?
Nobody's super young. We've done some 11-year-olds. I've had a 13-year-old golfer. I work with him. You know, it's not unsafe. The Breathletics class, I would want to ramp the kid up a little bit instead of just putting him in the class and start breathing right away like that. But yes, like box breathing, cadence breathing, slow breathing, nasal breathing all day, working out, tape your mouth shut, that kind of stuff. Everybody could be doing that. That's not an age thing.
Okay. So I was thinking that maybe you'd want to demonstrate this for our listeners.
Absolutely. I'll do some box breathing with you. Right.
Okay.
Awesome.
So how would you, if you were going to, let's say you're driving to a very important meeting, or you're going to get ready to, I'm channeling one of our parents. Maybe you're going to work and you just know you're going to get.
Yep. One of those meetings.
Yeah.
One of those meetings. So what I would do, I would see if I could get 5 minutes and go in, if it's at a building, go in the bathroom, or go somewhere where you can just sit down. And I do box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. If you do that for 3 to 4 minutes, that's the Navy SEALs, man. If they can go and do that out there with guns and enemies and bombs flying around, then I think seeing one of these moms should be okay. So basically, inhale through your nose. And that's one thing I haven't talked about yet. Nasal breathing, what that does, and this is the science nerd coming out. This might be a little boring, but it's got nitric oxide. Okay, nitric oxide, it's another vasodilator. It opens up your blood vessels. Your mouth doesn't have that. Your mouth is for eating, speaking, and breathing. Your nose is for breathing. That's it. That's why you should breathe up through your nose constantly. So anytime you do any of these exercises, always inhale through your nose. It's always nasal inhalation. So inhale for 4 through your nose and just slow your inhale down. So inhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 2, 1. Exhale through the mouth is fine on the exhale. Hold it. 2, 3. And inhale through the nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2. Exhale, nose or mouth. Hold it. 2, 3. Inhale through the nose. And keep that going for another 1.5 to 2 minutes. By following that path and doing that cadence, you get more blood to the brain, which gets your focus up there. Yet at the same time, you lower your blood pressure, you lower your heart rate, and you activate that vagus nerve, which is your chill switch. So that could definitely help dealing with those crazy moms out there if I got one of those meetings, right? Or anything.
That would be me.
Or a presentation or a class or whatever you got to do. If there's any anxiety, box breathing will chill you out. Box breathing will chill you out. So
my sister, I hope if she listens, she won't, slap me. But I know that my sister has higher anxiety than I do. And I think she was talking about someone gave her the concept of focusing on something during the breathing, because she's like, there's no way I could get to 9 counts. She's like, I can't do it.
Sure.
So what would you tell someone who's having a hard time really getting to, let's just say 4 counts?
If you're counting and you're paying attention to your breath, you shouldn't be thinking of anything else. There should be nothing else coming into your thought process. So almost, if that would maybe even count out loud, because then once you're counting and you're breathing, you're not thinking of dinner, work, kids, all that stuff. So I would say count out loud, or just continuously try to remember what you're doing. You're counting and you're breathing. That's all you're doing. You're not thinking of what's going to happen in 10 minutes. You're not going to think what happened 10 minutes ago. If you count and breathe and put that together, that's like the class, except without the music.
Right.
And at a less intense pace, of course. But when you put those two together, that's what eliminates anything else. Because if you start thinking something else, that's going to screw up your breathing and your counting. Then you got to start over, or you got to recalibrate and do it again. So once you do that, I think it makes it a lot easier. So I would tell your sister to count out loud. So she just keeps going. And then, if she starts thinking something else, she's going to stop counting, or her breathing's going to be off. And then, okay, reset. I was the same way. I couldn't meditate. It used to piss me off when I used to meditate, because I would get more flustered because I couldn't meditate. So I wouldn't meditate. I wouldn't try to meditate. I was like, come on, think about football or money, or what are we doing this weekend, or what's going on? I couldn't do it. Squirrel. So it wouldn't work. That's why the breathing and the counting really, really works, because that really kind of eliminates all that static. So
okay,
count out loud.
Count out loud. Any other last tidbits of advice or guidance you'd want to give the people listening?
Just if you're going to do this, don't do it in a body of water. Don't do driving. But I would most definitely give this a try. And not just once, just try and make it a part of your daily routine for a little while, because you will see a difference. It's a guarantee. That's the thing about this kind of breath work. And that's why this is gaining a lot of popularity with anxiety, depression, PTSD, but also in the athletic world, is that this is proven to work. It's not if it's going to work, it's when and how much, the chemicals in your blood change. So it's a sure thing. There's not a lot of sure things. As like I said before, the Navy SEALs use it, then I'm pretty sure that's the best test group in the world. So I guarantee, say that, I use those kind of words, but that this will work with your stress level if you give it a shot, because your body can do a lot of amazing things that we don't know about, and this is one of them. So just give it a try. And it's not like I said, you don't have to go to a breath gym or you have to get a membership. You do it on your couch, you do it in your bed, do it sitting in your office chair for a couple minutes, breathing slow, breathing through your nose, use your diaphragm. The counting. I guess it's kind of hard to get what we're talking about. It's kind of hard to count out loud if you're breathing. Maybe tap your hand or something. But it's something that I think our bodies can do. We just have to find and unlock it. That's right there. So
okay,
it works.
And for those of us who are worried about our jawline, I think you said that breathing through your mouth changes your face shape.
Interesting. Yeah. So as a kid, if you breathe in through your mouth, you continuously breathe through your mouth, your jaw gets longer and slopier, I guess how they call that. So there is a way, if you correct your breathing, your face will change. There's pictures of it. You can look it up. It really does change your jawline. If you breathe in through your mouth, you're not using the right muscles, and you're breathing incongruently, and you're living in a stress state that affects your bones on top of a lot of other things. Well, that affects your jawline. And if it's crazy to think about, but look up pictures. It's crazy. Some of these people, when they're mouth breathers, they go to nose breathing, the difference in a year. I mean, not even, it really is amazing.
And one last tidbit. I love the music that you play at the gym.
Yeah, there you go.
I call it tribal music.
Right,
I don't know
exactly.
If it is.
Exactly.
Do you have any tracks that you would recommend for people who want to try more intense breathing at home?
Yeah, what you could do is go on YouTube. We have our own tracks, but it's kind of born from this. And just type in African tribal music or African tribal club music. It's not that bottle service crap, but it's sort of like that in the way where it keeps a beat. And the beat is, if you want to breathe slower with the beat, you can do it, or faster, but that beat will always be there for you to follow. And that's why it works if you want to do this at home for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I would suggest taking a class and doing it with somebody who is a certified breath facilitator at first. But once you're comfortable with that, I would most definitely advise you to look into doing something like that if you've got the time. And, YouTube, like I said, African tribal club music or tribal club dance music, there's a ton of stuff that comes up. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
And where can people find out more about what you do?
You go to breathletics.net and click on the class tab on the top, and that'll take you to the page that's got pictures of the classes, what we've done at breweries, at the studio. It's got some testimonials. It's got a little video explaining what happens, kind of like what we've been talking about here. Follow us on Instagram, Go Breathletics, @Go Breathletics. We update it, every other day with either some breathwork facts or an update on our schedule where we're going to be doing a class. So ticket sales, our fall schedule is going to be coming out, I think, next week. We've got some breweries on board and a couple of studios, so we're excited about that. And we're also going to launch a Zoom class where we can do it, the breathwork class from your own home.
Okay.
And that's going to be coming up, I believe it's November sometime. So go over there, like us, follow us, and we'll get you on the email list, and you'll get a newsletter, everything Breathletics, so you won't miss anything.
I do want to say, we'll ask one more question. We've talked a lot about kids and moms,
Yeah.
but we haven't hit dads or men in general.
Oh, God, right.
And of course, I'm going to be super stereotypical, right? Men are raised not to talk about their problems.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So this sounds like another opportunity, if there's any male listeners, to really tap into some grounding techniques.
Absolutely.
And centering techniques.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is not, holding hands and passing energy type of breath work. It's challenging. It'll challenge you. And I think being challenged is a good thing. And especially with this kind of breath work, because, it's the other side, what you get out of it. And I know guys, if they hear breath work, they think of, a man bun and a cloak and, hanging out in the trees and stuff. So this is not that at all. So you guys out there, I got to tell you, the men that have taken this class are more amazed afterwards than the women. And I say that because they're not expecting this, and going on what you say, you got to be rough and tough and grumbling, male, well, this is something that will open their eyes. Like, man, that was different. That was different. That's the most, the most I've gotten in a negative way was the guy who was on his back too long and his back hurt a little bit, but other than that, the guys are way more amazed afterwards how good they feel. A lot of them, I've had a lot of guys cry in my class, because some of that gunk's coming up, and I'll never get this one big old dude, big old traps and kind of guy that carries around 6 gallons of water in the gym and stuff. He comes in. Yeah. He's kind of with his wife brought him in for the second time. He's not thinking, okay, whatever. He was crying at the end of that class, because of what it unstuck, lack of a better scientific term. But he found out how this could work, and I've seen him again. A little different attitude next time. But yes, I think the guys, without question, there should be no hesitation on giving this a shot, because this is not like, I'd say this, but like the non-man, passing energy and ooh la 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 la, hanging out and doing that stuff that's sort of like whatever. Some of those guys that preach and don't have your hands over your heart and cry them and get rid of it. It's like that's not the way this is. It's the opposite of that, which I think it's why this is going to be a very vital part of somebody's toolbox on how to get through life, make it a little bit easier.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out today.
Hey, it's my honor.
And for everybody else, the Bridge Youth and Family Services, we offer Spanish and English speaking services to kids and families. So if you need to find us, we're at bridgeyouth.org. So thank you for listening.